in the heart of the Amazon rainforest live one of the world's most isolated tribes of hunter-gatherers, the Wai-Wai. They're awaiting the arrival of something they hope will transform their lives, a grand piano. The man they've entrusted with the formidable task of delivering the piano is legendary British explorer Colonel John Blashford Snell.
I thought, a grand piano, do you realise what one of these things weighs? Have you ever seen one? And the chief priest said, no, but we're very musical people, and I've seen a picture of one, and I'm sure we could play it.
Blashford Snell will need to assemble a team, fly the piano to a remote jungle airstrip, navigate it up the most precarious of rivers, and then hack through dense jungle if the Wai-Wai's dream is to become a reality. The first key member of the team is country GP Dr. Simon Richards.
Legendary explorer Colonel John Blashford Snell is looking for a musical GP to tune and play a grand piano in the middle of a Guyanese jungle. The unusual request follows a recent expedition to the remote Amerindian Wai-Wai tribe in southern Guyana. This is in a general practitioner's journal called Pulse, and I was leafing through it one day at the end of surgery, and there it was with a picture of legendary explorer Colonel John Blashford Snell in full army regalia staring out at me. I brought it home and I showed my wife, who said, "No, you're not." And I showed my mother, who said, "Oh, you must," and so I did.
Expedition leader John Blashford Snell is visiting his outfitters. The legendary explorer is founder of both Operation Drake and Operation Raleigh.
Ah, hello, Nicholas. How are you?
Very well, John. How are you?
Good to see you again. Hello.
You haven't got any water in your pockets this time. Last time
A few snakes. A few snakes.
We've got your jacket for you ready.
Oh,
here,
marvellous.
that we've done a few alterations. So how are the plans going for the new expedition?
Well, pretty well. The piano, of course, has arrived, and so we're getting it put in a box, and weighs about 800 pounds.
Does it?
This is an engineer exercise, and I'm running it as one would an engineer exercise in the army. We've got to overcome an obstacle. We've got to move a very awkward piece of equipment. We haven't got any mechanical means to move it. We've only got human labour, and we've got sticks and strings and rope, and we've got to use the material that's available on the spot. So it's really very basic sort of military engineering.
Piano playing is not all that is expected of Dr. Richards. On its humid journey through the jungle, the piano could go hideously out of tune, so he's sent on a crash course in piano tuning.
It's likely that the keys and the hammers will jam up and not play when you get there. So you are going to have problems, and I don't think I can teach you enough in short courses for your knowledge, but I will teach you as much as I can before you go.
I had a sleepless night last night. I just thought, we open that box and there's 17 strings broken, and it's way too sharp, and the soundboard's got a crack in it, and there I am in the middle of nowhere trying to tune an untunable piano, and what do I look like?
The Wai-Wai live a harsh existence, completely detached from the comforts of the modern world. But despite their isolation, they were targeted by fanatical missionaries who brought them their Western style of music and left them with just a couple of guitars. Now, having spotted a picture of a grand piano in a 1950s magazine, the Wai-Wai have decided that this is the one thing that could bring real joy to their lives. The next member of Blashford Snell's team is Mayfair PR girl Anna Nicholas. Having persuaded one of her clients to donate a piano, she is now planning to join the expedition herself.
I think people do think that I lead a pampered existence. But one of the most wonderful things about going to the jungle is that you can be yourself 100%. So you don't have to wear makeup in my case. It doesn't matter if you're wearing a nice suit or not. You can mess around, you can be caked in mud, fall into rivers, and you're one of the team. It's almost like an army existence.
He also needs some real army types. Sergeant Paul Busek is a Royal Engineer.
After I got my name down for the expedition, I started asking about John Blashford Snell, and the sort of general consensus is he's mad as a fish. I mean that in the nicest way, and I've heard he's quite eccentric, but he must be a professional. The amount of years he's been doing his expeditions, and I suppose it's quite an honour to be on the same expedition as Blashford Snell, to be honest. I've spoken to a person who's actually moved a piano before, and they said just one knock you can actually break the back of the piano. I expect most of the manual work will be done by the YY themselves. I mean, there's 119 in the tribe, so that means to me there'll be about at least 50 men there. So most of my work, I presume, is going to be organising them and shouting at them.
And finally, Blashford Snell is taking his former regimental sergeant major, 72-year-old Jim Masters.
For rather a long time.
Jim has survived countless expeditions with John Blashford Snell over 30 years, but the idea of dragging a grand piano through the South American rainforest is probably the most bizarre to date.
I first met John in Cyprus during the Troubles. He was a fairly new lieutenant, not long out of Sandhurst. I was a sergeant, and all sergeants think they're quite old. And if a new lieutenant out at Sandhurst doesn't take the advice of his sergeant, he's a fool. I must admit, most of the senior NCOs in the squadron thought he was slightly nutty. I've no reason to think differently even now after all these years.
I'm going to show you. You remember we put this marvellous little device on?
Yes. Yeah.
I think the string could be a little bit longer.
A little bit long, okay.
Because sometimes when I'm sort of bending down to undo a crate or something.
So we'll take a little measurement of that in a moment. So it's 20. So another 6 inches, make it 26 inches.
Do you think Sally should wear this lovely hat?
On the eve of Son's departure, his family are selecting his jungle wardrobe.
Yeah.
Don't laugh.
What's that?
That's a penknife. It's got lots of things. It's got a knife, and it's got a bottle opener, and it's got a screwdriver, and it's got
Underpants.
that,
There's an
and it's got a pair of scissors. And I've just stabbed myself.
Quick find a doctor. You are one. Silly man.
The musical GP has one final duty, the regular choir practice at his village church.
Guys. Kiss for dads. Look after yourselves, look after mummy.
First stop is Georgetown, the steamy capital of Guyana, a former British colony on the South American coast. The team has only one day in town to make all the final preparations for the expedition. The most important thing is to devise some means of moving the piano through the jungle. Jim Masters, who's in charge of logistics, decides that with no mechanical means at their disposal, a hand-pulled sledge is the only sensible option. Paul Busek, his number 2, is not so confident. He thinks that with the weight of the piano on top, it will simply sink into the boggy ground. But time is too short to debate the matter. They simply have to get on and build it.
Well, you can see we've got a quite unique workshop. The timber's new, straight out of the rainforest, and it's still very cheap. It's not seasoned. For our purposes, it doesn't matter. The only problem is, of course, it makes the wood extremely heavy. Things are going wrong. Everyone's helping us, including the local people.
With just a few hours to go before they fly off to the jungle, the team are summoned to a last-minute briefing by John Blashford Snell.
There are one or two bugs that you need to keep an eye out for. There's a type of ant, about 1.5 inches long, called Neoplanera, which bites like hell. And if you get a bite from that, you will know it. It makes a strange hissing noise when you hear them. If you've got good hearing, which I haven't, but you have good hearing, you can sometimes hear these ants. And you might think it's a snake, but it's not actually. It's a little ant, but by Jinga they can bite. The situation is that the piano is now waiting at Oval, which is the military strip just outside Georgetown, and weight is absolutely critical. We've got a lot of heavy stores. The piano weighs about 770 pounds with its sled, mainly because we've had to use hardwood to build the sled. That's got to be used to drag it across the rough terrain. So weight is a big factor tomorrow.
275.
We shall fly direct to gun strip about 350 miles as the crow flies, and it's over dense jungle all the way. So you'll be looking down at solid cabbage all the way in.
There is only one place to land in this part of the rainforest, a stretch of savanna known as Gun Strip. This is one of the few tenuous links the YY have with the outside world. The arrival of a plane is such a rare event that some of the tribe have journeyed to the airstrip, where they've been waiting since dawn to greet the team. Earlier visitors to this area brought with them malaria and a whole range of other diseases. The missionaries introduced the YY to sugar cane, which resulted in serious dental problems, and clothes. Another legacy of the missionaries is the widespread use of the national language, English.
Jim is the man who will move your piano to your village.
Oh, welcome.
Do you play?
No, I sing.
Oh.
Janet is the YY nurse and one of the most fluent English speakers. She has bad news. As a result of a recent disastrous flood, the YY have been forced to abandon their village.
So how far away from the old village is the new village? Is it
It's about 3 miles.
3 miles?
Up the river.
Up the river?
Yes.
Higher ground?
Yes, higher ground.
I mean, I don't know what your chief thinks. It may be
He
better.
thinks that it's put in here yet, in the old village. For the time being. Yes.
It's a bit big to be picking it up and moving it from village to village. Very heavy.
With a new village under construction, there is an air of uncertainty as to the final destination of the piano. But it could involve a much longer journey than anticipated. Paul will now have to make Jim's sledge work. They had been expecting as many as 50 men to help them on the journey, which might have been the case if it hadn't been for the flood.
So the plan now is you're all going to move to the new village?
Yes.
As soon as it's built?
But you're there now, aren't you?
Yes,
You're all there.
I'm there in the new village. And the health worker is there too. But
Well, I think that we take the piano to the new village. But you can't move it once it's got its legs on and everything. You can't move it.
Yeah.
As the only way to reach the new village seems to be via the old village, it's decided that they'll go there first and hope that they won't have to go any further. Jim sets out to survey the route while John gets to grips with the local geography.
We all see the map. Anyone else to come? You. I'll show you what we're doing now. The situation is that we're here on the airstrip. The old village Guns is over there. The new village is in that direction and is partly cleared. So far they've built a school and a clinic, and that's about all. And they're gradually moving out of the old village to the new one. Jim, this is John. Do you want us to start moving or wait until you come back, over?
No, don't waste any time. On your way.
So what are we moving? We're moving these...
Right, we're going to start moving the piano slowly, and we're aiming to try to reach the creek tonight. Oh, he's laughing.
You ready? Okay, hands on. Up!
Ridiculously undermanned, they make a surprisingly optimistic start.
That's good. Excellent.
Ramming speed.
On Blashford Snell's last trip, this vast expanse of open savanna was a virtual swamp, swarming with malarial mosquitoes. But although the ground has dried out, the heat and humidity are intense.
Right. Okay, what we'll do is we'll have a big pull now, all the way through this soft bit, okay? Ready, hands on, big lift, lift, up! So keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Right. Okay, hold on. Right. Take 2 minutes. We're not going to tire ourselves out. 2 minutes. Take some water. That's right, boys.
Now start pulling.
Right, let's give these last two a drink. Some drink. You push in and suck. With tongue. You got it?
Can I ask whose stupid idea this was?
Up! Let's go!
Without a grand piano to hamper him, Jim has managed to make it all the way to the old village.
Yeah, I've just arrived at the village.
There's a moment. The sledge seems to be okay, Jim. Over.
Oh, that's good news. Okay, I'll see you later. Out. So that's the church, and you were just going to explain to me what that...
At first sight, the village seems remarkably intact, and Jim finds it hard to believe that only 2 months ago it was under several feet of water and awash with raw sewage. But on closer inspection it becomes obvious that this is a virtual ghost town. Even now, people are leaving with what they can salvage from their old houses. This will clearly not be the piano's final destination.
Lift! Up! Nice and steady. Up.
Meanwhile, back in the scorching heat of the savannah, the terrain is becoming increasingly rough, and there seems to be no option but to carry the piano on its heavy sledge.
Okay, let's go forward.
But the combined weight of the piano and sledge proves to be both dangerous and exhausting. They're also almost out of water, so Anna is asked if she will run ahead to find some fresh supplies. Proceedings grind to a halt, and Paul and Simon take a well-earned rest from piano shifting to check out the state of the ground ahead to see if Jim's sledge will be of any further use. Further along the path, they meet up with Jim on his way back to join them.
Where's the creek from here, Jim?
Go through that. Just into the trees there.
Yeah.
The trees. It's right there.
Up! Come on then. Come on, lift up. That's it. And let's go.
They decide to remove the sledge and carry the piano separately.
You must not drop it.
Even so, there are still far too few people to move it safely. But the YY are eager to continue and really put their backs into the job.
Right, stop! Okay, you lower your side first. Yeah, down on Jim's side. Ready? Lower it down on that side. Lower down that side. Low down.
The problem is it's the middle of a very hot day, and we've only been acclimatised to this climate for about 24 hours, during which we've had about 6 hours sleep. And it's a very heavy piano, and it's hard work.
It's dry.
Big plenty. Carrying the water. But thou art a better man than I, Jim.
The ground is now more suitable for the sledge, and the exhausted Brits are beginning to take a more supervisory role.
Get ready, hands on! Lift! Up!
Something that has not escaped the attention of the YY.
Wait, strong! We're not British! Come on, Wai-Wai!
Perhaps the British are weak, but even the Wai-Wai are now beginning to find the going tough.
Up! Come on, Paul! Come on! Wai-Wai, come on, Paul!
After hours on the sun-baked savannah, they finally make it into the relative cool of the forest and their first major obstacle, a creek. Although it is virtually dried up, this simple log crossing looks extremely precarious. The Brits are completely drained and ready to call it a day, but the Wai-Wai are determined to get all the way to the old village.
Yeah, well, the village is not far enough.
Oh, isn't it?
Just walking across these logs requires a certain amount of nerve. Pulling a piano across will require considerably more.
Stop thinking, John, you're the Colonel.
I think you have built-in braces.
No, don't worry about it.
Lift, up! Slowly, slowly. Right, you have to lift the front of the sledge up there, on the corner. Up! No, we need 2 more people here to lift. 2 more here. Do you want it to tip? Okay. You ready, guys? Ready, and pull. Okay. Well, a bit more width, Keep pulling. And pull! Right, big one now. And lift, up! Lift, up! Lift, up! Lift, up! Come on, go! Come on, move yourself! Move it! Come on! We're gonna fall out!
To everyone's amazement, they finally get the piano all the way to the old village. If Paul had had his way, they would have left the piano at the creek overnight, but he can't help but admire the determination of his new team.
They are keen, they're good workers. Maybe I'll be as good as I'm acclimatised, that's my excuse. But yeah, they're good. And they're a good bunch of lads who respond well to a bit of joviality.
But it seems they may have to take the piano further still.
When I came here in March, of course, we were coming into a thriving community with hunters going out to hunt in the woods. We had people working in the farms around here. We had the families. We had all the activity, the church, the council chamber, everything going on. It was a thriving community. And I came back this time, and it's a ghost town. Nearly all the community has moved now, and they're sort of halfway in between the old and the new village. So it was rather sad in a way, but of course I have to remember that in between the time I was here before and now, there's been this disastrous flood, and some of the houses, of course, would have been swept away.
When we had the flood, the houses were in the water, and all the pit latrines were in the water, and the wells were in the water too. So the water was kind of contaminated, and the fishes were eating the refuse in there. So everything was dirty then, I can say, and the place was smelly. It was very, very stink. And so some of the children, they just drink water just like that, and they start to get diarrhea and vomiting. And we nearly lose 6 children and at that time. And I nearly lose my baby too, because they like to go in the river, swimming in the river and drinking the dirt while swimming, and they get sick.
Today, the river Essequibo looks tranquil, but at the time of the flood, it rose by 30 feet in the space of 2 days and left the village submerged for more than 6 weeks. At the abandoned visitors' hut in the old village, John Blashford Snell raises the standard to establish this as Expedition HQ. On his previous visit, he dubbed the hut Roach Hall, out of respect for its other inhabitants. next day they decide that they will have to take the piano onto the new village in the heart of the jungle. A far more complicated journey than they expected. But they've no idea how they're going to get there. Simon has volunteered to join Paul on a recce of the overland route through the jungle, while Jim will investigate the possibility of transporting the piano by river, as they've heard a rumour about a large canoe that might just be man enough for the job.
I really just want to get an impression of exactly what we're facing tomorrow. I also want to go and look at another canoe. They've got a large canoe which they say can take the piano. There's a few rocks here and there. If something goes wrong, it goes wrong. It'll be all over very quickly if we drop it in the river. Okay, guys.
The Guyana Defence Force has sent in 2 young soldiers to protect the team, because in addition to the obvious jungle hazards, there have been recent armed incursions into this area by ruthless gold prospectors, sneaking across the unmarked border from Brazil.
Haven't seen a single snake yet.
It soon becomes glaringly obvious that any idea of manhandling the piano along this route would be totally impossible. Nevertheless, in order to recce the new village, they decide to continue along the increasingly precarious path.
Just it. That's the canoe, eh? Oh, that's a cracker. Yes. Oh. You okay? It's a beaut. God, it must have taken some time to make that, carve that out.
It's a big boat.
It is a jolly big one, yeah. Yeah.
While the others push on towards the new village, Jim, having checked out the canoe, turns back. He thinks the river is an option worth considering.
Yes, I only have eyes for you. Never sing when I'm at home, you know. Are the stars out tonight? I don't know if it's cloudy or bright. I was always a bit adventurous as a lad. And I think it's something that's in you. I did give up actually a few years ago when I thought I was old enough to know better. But sadly my wife died, so I decided I might as well get back to it. I was married for 47 years, but I met my wife at school and I fell in love with her then. I was 12, she was 11, and we finally got married when I was 21. Well, I must admit I miss her greatly. Not surprising since we were together so many years. When you have a relationship like that, you never feel like one person. 2 persons, rather. You feel like as though you're just one of a pair.
The team finally reach the new village. At first sight, it appears to be just a mass of felled trees and smouldering tree stumps. But even in this apparent scene of devastation, Janet has already re-established a makeshift clinic. She has to make do with the most rudimentary equipment. But there are many serious problems that she has no way of addressing. With scarce fuel supplies for the outboard motor, it would take 14 days to paddle a canoe to the nearest hospital. They would never normally expect a visit from a doctor, so Simon is happy to put thoughts of piano shifting to one side and get back to the job he knows best.
I think he lives in a little twilight world. He sees well, but he doesn't hear. I would reckon that he's profoundly deaf. Not a flicker. How many words does John have?
Mommy, he's trying to say daddy, but not good. But he says mommy.
Right. Can we get him to open his mouth? Without very complicated machinery, we can't establish what degree of hearing. We certainly can't quantify his hearing at all.
Last time I was here in March, one of the most harrowing experiences for me was when our cook at the time, Dea Linda's son, Mishek, fell out of a tree and broke his femur. And I have never gone through anything so harrowing. 2 nights of hearing a child screaming in agony and being absolutely incapable of doing anything to help. And knowing that if the government hadn't been able to get a plane in, that child would have died because he had severe internal bleeding. And you realise in all the jollity, the beautiful sunlight, the simple life these people lead, that if a real disaster happens and someone gets ill and it's a broken bone or it's a fracture, life can be very short indeed.
Back at Expedition HQ, Jim has returned and is ready to report his findings.
Right, Jim, do you want to come pull over?
Yep. Right.
What's the river look like?
There is one difficulty not far upstream where there's a ridge of rock going across the river.
Mm-hmm.
And
how far is that?
You can forget that. I won't go up it. We've got to climb up a short tongue. It's got to be a canoe.
Mm.
I've seen the canoe. It's 6 times bigger than anything that's here. He's quite right. It'll take it.
Yeah. As a Royal Engineer, I suppose I've always loved overcoming a problem or a challenge. I'm not really interested in climbing mountains because they're there. I think if I was asked to shin up Everest, I'd build scaffolding up the side. But I do love actually being involved in a project that is doing some good or something worthwhile, and particularly when it is challenging.
Weighing up the options, Blashford Snell decides that the river provides the only realistic route for the piano, even though getting it up the bank at the other end may prove impossible.
Up!
Having had time to recover, the whole team is now summoned into action again to move the piano down to the riverbank.
Come on, let's go! It's nearly there. Go, lads! Come on in.
Downhill now.
On the left.
Left.
You got it.
Flag.
Bright colours.
Oh, hold on, wait. You need to build a team of people who can all contribute. And if they all pull their weight together, then the whole project succeeds. And I suppose, as an expedition organiser, that's what I get the kick out of.
And if the piano starts to run away, hold onto the rope and run back up the hill.
Yeah, let me just move these logs out of the way.
Oh no, quickly. So you can take the pole off there now.
Brilliant.
Thanks, guys. Well, we've had our own ideas, but local knowledge, and I think we're going to stick by local knowledge, is to stand the piano upright in the boat. It's a big canoe. I'll stand it upright as it is, without the sledge. We can lie on top of the boat, flat. Initially we thought about putting outriggers on, but the locals say, the boat will take it. And if we put outriggers on, there's a pass through there of fast moving water, and it's doubtful we'll get the boat without riggers through this narrow pass. So a single canoe is the best option.
Alright, second half on the barrel line.
You all happy?
Yeah. You happy?
Well, let's see. How many?
You're happy?
Jim,
you happy? You all happy, jump over.
Okay, why boys? Get around the prongs. Up! Okay, and let's move. Slowly. You're straight in the boat, Jim.
Transporting the piano by river is likely to be the most precarious part of the journey. If it goes over, no amount of piano tuning expertise will get it to work again.
Right, switch on radios. Right, have you got a radio that works now?
On reaching the intended landing point, it looks as if the bank is far too steep to get the piano up safely. The YY suggests trying to paddle the canoe into a narrow creek further upstream. It's uncharted territory, even for them, but it seems there's no alternative. This is as far as they can go by water. Their delicate cargo seems to have survived the most dangerous part of the trip.
Now we build the pyramids.
The terrain now becomes clearer, but it's uphill all the way.
Come on, read this!
You might stop, you might down. Bend your knees. I wasn't knackered. I'm giving you guys a break. The last bit on the sledge and everybody around you, yeah?
To Lapland's plane. We're marching on to Lapham's Plain, where they don't know mud from rain.
Three cheers for the YY tribe! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Thanks, boys.
Anyway, thank you all very much. It's been a very good team effort by everyone, whether they were YY, GDF, Guyanese, Brits, the whole lot. But thank you all very much indeed. I don't think anyone else will bring a piano this far.
Ela tueka yo ya fura. Awa ko na masih suatu. Kaca memang oh ya. Ela kakak na macam kamu tu namanya.
The YY are clearly delighted by the arrival of this gift and are eager to show their gratitude, but as yet, there's no guarantee that it survived the journey.
Okay.
Yes.
Bring it out towards me. Up, steady.
Done.
And again, get your hands on it. Lift, up! Right, and down.
And tilt it backwards gently.
Tip it up, right.
Okay.
And there she is.
Right.
Every single string is intact.
Now,
Hands around it.
right.
Yeah. Do it, really lift. Up. Okay, and have to hold it there. Okay.
Piece of wood.
Okay, where's the other leg?
Yeah.
Just go that way.
Brilliant. Thanks. And then I've got the whole keyboard there.
As all the components are assembled, there is still the nagging doubt that Simon's piano tuner might be proved right, that the keys will jam and the piano will be unplayable.
Beautiful thing, isn't it?
Oh, excuse me, please.
So it's here and it works. A miracle. God does move in mysterious ways.
Village life comes to a halt. Everyone seems completely captivated by the sounds emanating from this mysterious instrument. The YY first requested the piano before the recent dramatic upheaval, but its arrival now seems to be a strangely appropriate symbol of regeneration.
I've been on lots and lots of expeditions and had some exciting moments, but if you think of going down a rapid and you get down it alive, you say, oh, great, but this is something else. If anyone has spoken to me, I'd have burst into tears. Yeah?
See. If we play a scale, yeah, we have to use a black note.
And each of the boys has written a letter to you with a picture of themselves telling you all about their life in London.
Before I left London, everyone said, oh, this is a jolly joke, you're completely insane, what on earth are you doing? And I did think at times we were mad. And John and I, because we came here in March, we had this dream that we would bring this piano back, and it became a reality. When we got it here, I actually realised it wasn't a jolly jape at all, that it actually means something for the village. And I think because the village has had this horrendous situation, having to rebuild the village from scratch, the piano signifies new hope.
The grand piano became the catalyst. If you like, it was a publicity stunt, but it became the catalyst to draw attention to the plight of these people. You can't stop people coming in, and you can't isolate these people from the outside world. But we have to remember, they are not primitive, they are educated, they want to live the life they live, and I believe that they're doing a very good job. We should try and encourage them, but not pollute them with some of the worst of our ways.
It's very easy to sort of think that we're playing Santa Claus here and bringing them all the things that they would never otherwise have. It would be nice to come back in a year or two's time and see whether it was just a mad adventure that lasted a fortnight, or whether it's going to have any lasting effect upon their lives. I'm sure it's going to have a lasting effect on mine.